Tough times calls for smart moves. You're all aware we're navigating tough economic times, and this calls for key considerations before you spend your money or commit yourself in any commercial deal, especially taking up commercial space, whether for your business or an office. Welcome to today's Tip Tuesday, where I want to explore the key areas that you need to check out for so you can save yourself a good in future or save yourself money and have smooth ride as your business grows in the future. My name is Lucy and welcome to today's Tip Tuesday. Why is it important to understand your lease agreement beforehand? As a commercial realtor in this market for over 10 years, I've picked up key areas a lot of tenants just overlook, and it becomes quite a task to navigate through it once you're already in the lease. So one of the things that I'm going to mention is we are in a very tough economic situation, and you never know what's going to happen in terms of how your business is going to grow. So you need to cautiously understand the financial numbers you agree to your landlord. The other element I would want to mention is on the lease duration, and I would ideally, as we move through the video, I will take you through a cautionary measure you can take to make sure that you protect yourself and provide flexibility for your business to thrive and catch up if the economic situations doesn't favor it in the first few years. Now, when it comes to exit as well, it's also good to understand what does that look like if things don't move or they don't pick up as you anticipated. And this all element of understanding the lease agreement is just to help you in terms of saving your money and making sure that you avoid unnecessary headaches in the near future. So what are the key elements do we need to look into as we are getting ourselves in commercial leasing? Now, commercial leasing could be a jargon to some of you. Let me just break it down to a layman's language. Anytime you want a premises for your business or you want an office for your business as well, the lease agreement you sign with your landlord, that's what we call a commercial lease, okay? And in the jurisdiction in Kenya, there's a law that provides how a landlord and a tenant, they need to conduct themselves in that special engagement. So in this case, I'll be looking at what the law provides, what the current situation in the market would look like in terms of the commercial leasing of commercial space, rent escalations, exit strategies, users, and what actually you as the tenant, you need to ensure you've covered, you've read through, you've understood before you sign up for those commercial leases. So let's dive into it. And the first one, I'll look at lease durations. The Kenyan law provides for a minimum period of a commercial lease in Kenya as 5 years, 3 months. Majority of us, we recommend 6 years so we can have annualized kind of periods for the lease commencement or lease anniversary dates. So with that said, what does it mean for a business, a startup that probably are not keen on taking the entire 6 years? If you're not careful, you just get yourself in because the landlord will not give you a shorter period and create a legal obligation of what we call a control tenancy. You'll forgive me for today, I will not go into control tenancies. I will look for a day to talk about that. But then again, that's why landlords will not allow for any period less than 6 years. But here's the catch. We've seen tough situations where businesses are not thriving as business owners anticipate. And there's an emergence of what we call a comfort letter. What a comfort letter solves is this period. I can exit the lease duration before the 6 years exit. And the law, fortunately, it's recognizing these side letters, or what we call comfort letters. And I would recommend for anyone taking up a space, or you're a realtor and you're representing a tenant, I would say with the current situation we're in economically, you need to advocate for a comfort letter so the tenant is comfortable to get into a financial commitment, knowing the future is not as, probably it might not turn out as they anticipate. So what does the side letter provide? This document will outline the pre-agreed covenants or agreements between the landlord and the tenant in terms of the when they can exit. Is it after 2 years or after 3 years? There is a minimum period a tenant must stay in that building before they can exit. This is just to provide flexibility and probably a smooth exit just in case things don't work out. The other item that is contained is what measures need to be met by the tenant to the landlord for the landlord to allow the exit to be executed. And this is in terms of rental arrears, utilities, reinstating the unit as it was before they came on board. And clearly you're just being clear on, if I need to get out, these are the things I need to commit to, and then have a smooth exit. We also have like the notice period. What notice period should be given to the landlord in case the tenant needs to move? That also needs to be highlighted in the side letter. And that is why I would say in this time, or in this evolving times, we need to embrace and acknowledge the comfort letters for our tenants if you want to be in business. It tends to give, a lot of tenants are scared to commit for 6 years, and what that does, if you give them a comfort letter, then you're able to, as a landlord, to actually maintain a good occupancy level for your building. Now, that takes me to rent escalations. This is not part of the side letter. A rent escalation is how is your rent going to grow over the 6 years. So you need to carefully look at your business financial numbers so you're able to commit to something that is sustainable for your business. I will give you the market rate of what we are currently passing through as, or are advising our clients to adopt on the rent escalations. For, I would say for big space occupiers, we're giving up to 5% rent escalations. For commercial leasing, we're doing 5 to 10%. And anywhere between that, I think you as a business owner, you can gauge and see what really works for you in terms of your numbers, and you don't get yourself in a situation where things are thick on your side and ideally you're bleeding. Now, with that said, I would say understand how and when your rent needs to increase. It could be annually or biannually. I always recommend biannually because you have the flexibility of having a fixed rent for 2 years before your rent starts escalating. And with that, I would say with that, you're able to have like very clear, but also ensure your rent escalations are fair and they reflect the market rentals or the market rates by what's happening in that particular segment in the market. We've talked about exit strategies and the role of side letters. One, I would say in Kenya, commercial leasing does not provide for exit clause. So even as you're negotiating, you need to bring your exit clause in the form of a side letter. Anytime I meet a realtor and they are pushing, or rather you're acting on behalf of a tenant, and you're pushing for an exit clause, it takes me back to think you're not well conversant with what the Kenyan law provides. So you need to advocate to your landlord or a prospective landlord, to your client, that you are keen on pursuing a side letter that can provide for an exit clause. Now, the other thing I would say, when you are negotiating your leasing, you need to be informed on the current market rates. Let's start from there, because I will tell you one thing: if you're not, the landlord is going to enjoy profit rent, and you really can't change the rates once you've committed. So it's good to make sure that you understand, I'm looking for an office. What are the going rentals? What are the going service charge rates? And for service charge, it might vary, because if it's a big building, service charge will tend to be lower because you anticipate to have more tenants. But if the square footage or a built-up area is not much, then that tends to push service charge higher. Now, for rentals, the starting rental, it can only be negotiated after the end of the lease. So that's why it's very important to understand the current market rates, so you're able to competitively negotiate your rentals at the point of entry. I've done a few of being in the market. I could give you a bit of an informed kind of commercial rentals and office, like in terms of office and retail. Currently, I may just give office rates are ranging anywhere from 60 to 150 for ground floor or in grade A buildings, but all the rentals in offices like grade C, you can get something for 50, 60 shillings per square feet. When you go to CBD, you can get 180 to 120. Now, the other thing you also need to understand, it's a location. Is it on ground floor? Is it on first floor or second floor? It also matters a lot, okay? When it comes to retail, you also need to be aware of the square footage. In commercial offices, you'll find rent is charged based on lettable areas. In retail, rent is charged based on actual space of occupation. So what do I mean? If I take a shop, maybe in a mall, I'm just going to pay rent based on the actual space that my shop occupies. But in an office, you will have a common area apportionment for that particular floor that is attached to your office. And that's why you'll find office rentals to be slightly lower than retail. So with that, I'll just give you, for business premises, it will range anywhere between 350 on ground floor up to, and this is like grade A buildings, when we come to, or when you talk about retail malls, and also all the way up to, I would say, 80 shillings, especially when you find a retail development with more than 3 floors. You can actually get an 80 shillings per square feet on higher floors. So it's always good to always be informed on what's happening in the market. Now, how also do you understand a service charge? You need to question, what does service charge cover? It should be anything that is pertaining to maintenance of the common areas of that particular building. So get to understand, as a tenant, this charge you want me to pay, what does it entail? What's the basis of charging 20 shillings? Because every landlord needs to, you know, like, just advise their tenant the basis of that 20 shillings or 30 shillings or whatever shillings they're charging for service charge. Now, I would say before signing any lease, you need to conduct a thorough inspection of your property to just identify any potential issues and negotiate necessary repairs, especially if you're taking a building that's already, or it was occupied by another tenant. Reason being, you're committing to reinstating this unit after your lease. If someone had left, what would be the basis of reinstating that unit if someone left it in like a bad state of repair? All right, so that's something that I will highly recommend to do that, and also get to understand what it means by capital expenditure, because if I'm occupying an office and I have a leakage in my building, that's not my responsibility. That's a capital, or rather it's a repair that is originating from the main building, not from wear and tear of me using the building. Okay, and that's where you need your professional consultant, your realtor, to help you in terms of navigating that expense. Now, last but not the least, maintain a good relationship with your landlord. This can lead to better negotiation outcomes, quicker resolutions to issues, because you're here for longer. You're not here for the short term at times. So you need to also create a rapport and potentially get favorable terms at the point where you want to renew your lease. So with that said, I would highly recommend you get a professional to help you in terms of negotiating your lease, and at times also get a legal representative. There's something that is emerging actually in our current market, and I think it's a good thing. We used to, and I think it's still there, who pays the legal fees for the registration documents, the heads of terms? We always say it's the tenant to pay, but we're seeing a couple of changes in that line where each party is paying for their own legal representation, which, in my opinion, it's fair enough. So just to mention as well, probably what will be required of you when it comes to the initial payment, you'll be asked to pay deposit based on the final term of the lease, the escalated rent in year 6, okay? And also you'll be required to pay rent monthly. So if you the manner in which you pay your rent is monthly, then the initial payment will only have 1 month rent. But if you're paying rent quarterly in advance, then you'll be forced to pay 3 months in advance of your rent. Okay, during fit-out period, when we are giving out spaces where during that fit-out period a tenant is not entitled to pay rent, but they pay service charge, which we call fit-out service charge, simply because you're consuming security services, you're consuming cleaning services, you're consuming power, you're consuming water, and with that you can't really quantify like the amount of security service you're consuming from the main security of the building. And that's why we actually make sure that tenants pay for service charge fit out during that period. Okay, now I think with all the other terms that we put in that heads of terms of the lease, I would highly recommend you take that document to your lawyer just to read through the document, understand what you're getting yourself into. So there you have it. Understanding your lease agreements is very crucial to making informed decision making. And I would highly recommend, if you're out there and you're looking for a location for your business or a location for your office, or rather an office location, get a professional to help you or just to guide you in terms of understanding what you get yourself into. My name is Lucy. I'm a commercial realtor, and I'm here looking out to earn your business in terms of me becoming your tenant representative. I'll be more than happy to navigate the complexities of this negotiating process with you, and I'll definitely make things worthwhile for you. I look forward to seeing you in my next Tip Tuesday as we grow this community together. Let me know in the comment section what else would you like me to talk about. Be more than happy to engage and educate you.